I'm going to be sharing with you my 3 financial tips for success in relationships. You know, one of the most common reasons for divorces is actually finances. So it's such an important topic to chat about. And my first tip is to actually get help as early as possible. So I'm not talking about, you know, getting help when you're in a relationship already. Even if you're not in a relationship, you know, you have to get help as early as possible. And so whether that's, you know, taking some small steps yourself or going to see someone, it's so important that you take that action now. And even if it's just taking one small step. So for example, if you're in a bit of credit card debt, saying, okay, well, I'm going to pay off an extra $10 or $20 a month on my debt. So you've got to make it as easy as possible for yourself. Or you might say, okay, every time I get paid, I am going to save an extra $50 per paycheck. So the key there is to make it as small as possible and make it easy for yourself to start, because you'll see, you know, as you see the results and you start to build a bit of momentum, those bigger steps will become a lot easier. There's a lot of free resources as well for you to educate yourself. The Wealth Enhancers blog is one of them, but there's websites like 10,000 Girl, the Hip Pocket, and the Oyster. And there's also some pretty awesome budgeting tools as well. We use MoneySoft for our members, but there's also Pocketbook or an app called Fudget. So that's budget with an F. So if you download those apps onto your phone, they will definitely help you move in the right direction. My second tip to you guys is you need to share to avoid despair. So what does that mean? Share to avoid despair means in a relationship, especially a new one, you're in a honeymoon period, the emotions are high, the hormones are raging, the endorphins are high, and so you got to find the right time to bring these things up. But if you leave it too late, it also becomes a lot more difficult for you to bring up and have a chat about these you know, financial conversations. So the timing is right, but it's important that you share with your partner what's going on and share with him, you know, what you're doing, or her, what you're doing as well. So for example, if you have a lot of credit card debt and it was because you had you took out some credit to go on a holiday a few years ago, you went to see Italy, and now you're really focused on paying down your debt. You've taken those measures to pay off additional on your credit card. Share with your partner, well, hey, this is what happened, this is what I'm doing, but get him involved or her involved too. So say, look, I really need your help. I thought it'd make it fun for us as well to do this together. And I thought, you know, why don't we set a challenge, for example, who can improve their financial position by 5%, you know, by 5%, who can do that first? And so what you're doing there is you're telling them, you know, the reality of the situation, but you're also telling them what you're doing about it and getting them involved too. And what that does is it starts to build some really important and valuable habits in your relationship around money, but it also starts to open the conversation about money and make that easier for you both to share your experiences around money. So share to avoid despair. Share to avoid despair. Super important. Now, my next tip, and this is going to cause a bit of commotion, is 3 in a relationship is a good thing. So what do I mean by that? 3 in a relationship is a good thing. So you would have noticed, especially with the people that you spend a lot of your time around, that your attitudes, beliefs, and habits around money are very different. So you'll notice that, you know, other people might, you know, when you talk about money or when it comes to going to dinners and paying for things, their attitudes, beliefs, and habits around money are very different to yours. And in a relationship, this becomes even more important because you're sharing a future together potentially, and you might be starting to talk about some goals together. So you might be wanting to go traveling, you might be wanting to move in together, and you might even be sharing accounts. And so I'll give you an example here that my partner and I, Scott has very different attitudes, beliefs, and habits when it comes to money. He cares about money, but he is not too fussed about the detail. And he also believes that everything will work out, and it does. But for myself, I am very much all about the detail. I want to know where our money is going. I need to know that it's organized and that we're on top of it. And so that does put a bit of pressure on me when it comes to having difficult conversations around money. But our financial coach, Sarah, really helps with those conversations because she sees, okay, Scott, Christine, you guys have very different attitudes, beliefs, and habits when it comes to money, but she brings it back to our goals, what we're both working towards individually, but also what we're working towards together. And so she takes that stress off me from having certain conversations with Scott, but also gives us both the confidence that we're moving in the right direction and potentially even have those difficult conversations with us when we need them too. I'll give you another example as well. So I had a coaching session with two members, a husband and wife, and we're going through their goals. And at the end of the goals reviews, I asked them, is there anything else that you wanted to add and set as a goal to work towards? And the female in the relationship, she was very shy, and she cheekily said, you know what, I want to have a freaking awesome 30th birthday party. And so I said, look, that's great. What's the budget? And she said, about 5,000-6,000. And then she looked at her partner and she looked back at me, and she was really shy about it. And her partner looked at her and he said, what? Why are you looking at me for? This is why I'm here. I don't want to say no. I don't want to say yes. I don't want to have to deal with it. This is why Christine is going to deal with it. And so that's a perfect example of why 3 in a relationship is a good thing. So if you guys are starting to plan for a future together, you're talking about moving in, you're sharing accounts, getting someone else involved in conversations about you and your finances is so important. And at Wealth Enhancers, we have the financial kickstart session, which we've been having a lot of couples come through, and they've been getting a lot of value out of the sessions. So those are my 3 tips for today. I'll leave them with you. I'll also post some links from all the blogs and the resources that I mentioned. I'll see you guys. Bye.